Overnight's OVN token has crashed more than 35%, and you have the majority of people sitting here looking at this, scratching their heads, wondering what went wrong. Now let's look at data that many people tend to overlook, not think about, and basically try to get into. Sorry to interrupt you there, folks. I just want to quickly chime in and mention that we are currently working on a project called Numerical. It's DeFi as a service, meaning you'll get exposed to real DeFi protocols that generate real revenue, aka real yield, and you're gonna get a cut of this without doing the setup yourself. All you have to do is enter, claim, or withdraw. Very simple. So your capital is available at all times to take, and you can choose the option where to invest. More details in the description and in our community chat. So first things first, Overnight's OVN token is a quote-unquote, governance-driven utility token for overnight finance, the basic protocol. So, of course, as a rule of thumb, you would guess that OVN's performance should be tied to overnight finance performance. But you'd be mistaken. It has nothing to do with whatever overnight finance is doing, but everything to do with how aerodrome finance is performing. All of this, steep climb from about 20 bucks all the way to 100 is solely, and I mean it, solely due to this right here. These two pools are the major reason. Now, currently, even right now, with the underperformance, they are still giving about 350% APR plus between these two. So OVN, OVN USD plus. So quote unquote, actuality here is that if Aero doesn't perform, OVN will follow. Let's look at the evidence. Aero has dropped about 46% from its top of $2.3 more or less to what it's trading at currently at $1.25. Now you would argue that that's not much in retrospect because it did grind all the way to 2.3 from 2 cents, but still it is a lot of drawback right now for people or for the majority of retail who entered a bit late. And I did talk about aerodrome, and hopefully people watch the video while I specify why the token itself is a bit risky in the short term. So if you haven't seen that video, check it out, it's on the channel. More evidence to the correlation between these two tokens is nothing more than the Aero OVN chart, alright? So if you look at the chart right here, you can clearly see that it is oscillating within a specific range. Now sure, there are outliers, so for example right here, a bit here, here, but overall you see that on average the range is somewhere between 45 to 52. So it is following the performance of Aero very closely. You want more evidence of this? Just come to their Twitter page, look at all the posts. All of the posts are mainly about this. The pools on Aerodrome, the performance of them, potentially the adjacent protocols, because you can also have this on Beefy where it auto compounds and you can leverage 2x USD plus OVN on XtraFi as well. So all of the posts, if you scroll through them, they mainly talk about OVN and its underlying pools. Now you will find also sometimes, the performance of their stablecoins, so USD plus, USDC plus, USDT plus, but it's majorly about OVN. So right now, the whole business model or the whole advertising model is geared towards this. And that's what driving, the price to go up. Now I have my theories as to why this is happening, but we can clearly see this if we go and check OVN's tokenomics. So we come here, we click on OVN overview, and just by quickly looking at what's going on, first of all, OVN has a total supply of 1 million. That's something that you need to understand. There cannot be more to be minted. And the distribution here is that from a first glimpse, you can clearly see that about 80% of the supply, actually that's 90% of the supply, is in the team's hands. Insurance fund, team, treasury. Imagine if most of this OVN is currently being used to farm IRO? All the money that can come from this lucrative endeavor would be insane, all right? And I'm sure, I haven't looked at the data on-chain to be honest, but even without looking at the on-chain data, you can clearly see that it's happening. Because let's face it, let's assume that 10% of the remaining OVN tokens are all being staked on aerodrome, right? So that's 100k. At the current price, that's approximately 66 million, all right, overall in value. Come to the OVN liquidity pool and you can clearly see that if you pair 6 million OVN tokens with 6 million USD plus, that's 12 mil. We're still missing 15 mil. So who staked that OVN? Right? So that's a basic equation line that you can draw, and you can understand that it is in the team's favor to see this chart go up because they're making tons of money. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that it's understandable that the majority of efforts are directed towards OVN because this is the lucrative part of the protocol, or the most lucrative part of the protocol as of now. Now the team is bribing as well, so that's, you know, that's something that we need to understand. So they are the ones giving you that APR, but they are also the ones taking the majority of it. And you, as a retail investor, if you entered somewhere here, for example, you paired it, even if you rode this up and down, you would have made a bit of profit, potentially, even with impermanent loss, because you probably made some IRO and hopefully you sold some. But if you entered anywhere between here, so from then to now, you would have potentially either broke even or made just a bit of money. The rest are in the loss, all right? And to add to my point, you know, there's another way to earn yield with OVN. You can stake it on their insurance fund and you can earn insurance premium yield. But unfortunately, that's not giving, you know, nearly as much as whatever IRO is giving. So who would do this, in fact? You see, it's very, you know, apparent here that only 1% of the remaining 10% is being put in the insurance fund. So there's almost nothing here. That's 64k at current price, because the APY is almost non-existent compared to what you see right here. So this is something that you need to understand, and hopefully this gave you clarity as to why this is happening, all right? So OVN is simply put right now overvalued, tied to aerodrome. If you are looking at it and trying to, you know, find an entry for yourself, or if you want to exit, I would say do not rush to the exit right now, because if IRO, you know, turns the ship back, this will also follow. So it's risky, you know, anything can happen. It could go south, I don't know. It all depends on the market conditions, because in the grand scheme of things, IRO follows the market now. Market goes up, IRO will go up, OVN will follow. Market goes down, same will happen to OVN. One thing I want to show you, you know, additionally, to understand why overnight finance is not doing as greatly as one might think by looking at, you know, the performance of OVN, is basically this chart right here. All of its stable coins, you know, have been redeemed more than they have been minted for the past couple of months, and it's apparent by this decreasing chart. Even though right now, at least, because of market conditions and the high demand for stablecoins, the underlying APYs are, you know, decent, right? So even, for example, just to give you an example, on Blast is more than 40%. On OPR, it's about 25 to 30%. So that's really not bad. So even with that, there isn't much demand for these stablecoins, because one might argue that most of the demand went for OVN, so people could have potentially sold their stablecoins, so redeemed them, bought OVN, and there you have it. But one might also argue that people could have minted their stablecoins, all right, and then paired that USD plus with OVN because that's the pair, it's not USDC or anything else. So they deliberately made the pair with USD plus to also drive demand for USD plus. So even with the rise of OVN, even with the rise of that liquidity pool, the demand is still not there. So it did rise from its bear market bottom because of what's currently happening and because of OVN. So again, hopefully that gave you some clarity. Hopefully that made you understand what's going on. Again, I'm not saying that there's anything bad going on with the token or the protocol. They're doing what they think it's best, you know, overall. And hopefully it works out. But you as a user should understand what's going on in the background and hopefully make better decisions and, you know, take this and anything else that you can find and then use all of this, collude all of this information, and potentially, you know, plan your next move. We do have a Telegram chat, consider joining. It's a pretty cool room. Link in the description. And with that, see you in the next one. Have a good one.